Well, hello, beautiful people. Today we're going to look at some basic prompting in Canva for their text-to-image generator that is powered by Stable Diffusion. So on the screen you see some examples I've been working on, and we're going to go over how I developed these concepts. One thing to be aware of though, because this is a beta, most of the usual Stable Diffusion options are not available on Canva's beta. But stick around to the end because I'm going to tell you how you can learn the rest of those options outside of Canva. Now let's start off with a blank workspace. The size that I'm using is 512 by 512. You can go 1024 by 1024 if you want. Now for whatever reason yours doesn't show up, you see I have mine here, text to image. If I remove that, you can find it under the apps area here, under create something new, and you just simply click text to image and then you'll get this section here. This area is where you're going to put in your descriptive text, which is known as prompts. The only other options you have is a style. So you have your photo, drawing, 3D, painting, pattern, concept art. These are somewhat useful, but really not necessary once you learn how to prompt properly. Before you start prompting, I want you to keep this format in mind. To make it super simple, I would break it up into 3 main sections. However, the third section has numerous subcategories that you can really fall down the rabbit hole. So the first thing you want to ask yourself is what type of picture you want to produce and what's the main idea. For example, you can have a portrait of a character or an object. You can have a landscape of a specific scenery, perhaps a pencil sketch or a painting of a person. So you want to combine the type of picture with your main idea. For this example, we're going to type in a portrait of a fairy. We're not going to use styles today because the next steps we do will determine your style. So you simply have to click on generate and it's going to generate 4 generations. The one thing you have to realize with text to image, it's not perfect. You're going to get deformed faces, eyes, deformed hands. And since the beta version of Canva is very limited, there's really no way to tweak it. So it is kind of hit and miss right now. And in this example, we only got 3 generations for whatever reason. So we're going to bring these all in just so we can see them. As I said, you see that the limbs are a little deformed. That's really normal for text image AI. So I would say out of all of them, this one was kind of the best one in terms of results, in terms of coherency. And coherency really just means how accurate the image is compared to the prompt you gave. We didn't give the prompt a lot to go by, right? So we're going to click start again. And now we're going to move towards the style aspect of prompting. And this is a big can of worms, I'll be super honest. We're talking general modifiers, so emotions, lighting, environment, art medium, art styles, details. So that's why I said that this part of your prompts has such a deep rabbit hole that you'll have to really just experiment with. So again, you want to ask yourself, okay, we have a portrait of a fairy, but what else is in this picture? So right off the bat, I have this idea of the fairy being in a garden. So we can put portrait of a fairy in a garden. And let's give it some lighting environment, perhaps at sunset, okay? So let's generate this and see the type of results we get. As we look at the images now that were generated, you see we have our fairy in a garden at sunset. The details in the face and the hands are lacking. We'll address that in a second. We'll look at this one. The wings are at the front of the fairy, so I probably wouldn't keep this one. And then we have this portrait, but the face isn't the greatest. But theoretically, we're getting close to the result we want. So we just have to keep building our prompt until we get a very coherent prompt that we want to continue with. Based on the results we're getting, I feel like we need more fine details overall, especially in the face. Let's enhance the face more. One of the easiest ways to do that is to put words like beautiful face, smiling, or happy. After this first part of the prompt, we're going to put in beautiful face, I also like detailed eyes because the tendency is for text to image is to kind of have a glazed eye look. I find that if you put detail eyes, it'll make the effort to putting catch lights in the eyes, which is super important for portraits. And then for overall details, you could put things like fine detail, intricate details, those type of words. So I'll type in intricate details. Let's go ahead and generate this and see the difference it makes. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. There are a lot more intricate details in this photo, especially like in the background there, the details in the face. It's got more of an artsy type of look. If we look at this picture, this one isn't as artsy. It's kind of like almost like a 3D render, but even that details in the hair here we see is a lot more detailed. To carry on, I'm going to add two more things. So one thing with lighting, even though we have a sunset there, I still want a bit more details in the lighting. Lighting keywords like cinematic, volumetric, dynamic, hard or soft light, those things work very well. Let's include volumetric lighting. And I kind of want the acrylic painting look. So we're going to add this artistic medium to have that look, okay? Now, one of the downsides of Canva's beta, you're limited in the amount of times you could generate images. I think it's 24 to 30, but don't hold me to that. Personally, for me, it's not enough. Let's look at this image here. It's got more of this painter feel here. Again, we're getting more details to the image. This one looks like it was put on a canvas. Looking at this image, I still feel like there's some details that we're missing. So I'm going to include a few keywords here. First off, highly detailed, so we can get more detail. I'm also going to throw in 8K to kind of give more of that high resolution look. And for this image, I really want the colors to pop, so we're going to use vivid colors. You could use things like saturated colors, pastel colors, 16K, Unreal Engine, 3D render, that type of thing. Let's click on generate and see what we can come up with here. All right, now we're starting to get somewhere. Again, the hands are quite a bit deformed, which very normal. But in terms of the details and the look, we're really getting there. This one turned out pretty good. I really like that. This one as well. Mouth is a little deformed, but we're getting closer. One of the key methods to get the look you want is to include an artist's style. Now I'm going to leave a link in the description below of a long list of artists that you can look up and learn about for inspiration. You throw those names in your prompt and it could literally change the look of your image. One of my all-time favorite artists is a comic book artist. His name is Todd McFarlane. He was the original artist for Venom, as far as I know. So I'm going to throw his name here, and you could simply just put by Todd McFarlane. And another one of my comic book heroes back in the day was Jim Lee. He did a lot of the art for the Marvel Comics. But now what I'm going to do is get just a bit more photorealism. After intricate details, I'm going to throw in hyper-realistic, photorealistic, and then on top of this, I'm going to use photography terms. I'm going to throw in a Canon R5 and an 85mm 1.4 lens. Let's click on generate. When you throw in camera gear, it's great for portraits because it will mimic those characteristics and quality of that camera and lens. If we bring in this image here, oh, the eyes are glowing. I kind of like that look. But you see, now it still looks artsy, but it's got a hint of that photorealism in there, which is the look I'm going for. Let's bring in this image here. There we go. You can really see here the bokeh. That's the blurry background. That's the advantage of putting in like an 85mm 1.4 lens. You can go 50mm if you wanted to, even 135. It gives it that effect. Now that we have a basis of a prompt, we could just keep running this until we get an image that we like and that we can work with. Unfortunately, again, because this is beta, you can't go farther with it. There's something called image to image where, let's say I like this image, you could bring it into an image to image. It's going to use this image to keep its likeness, but we can further tweak the details, the lighting, all that stuff, but the image wouldn't change all too much. The only option you have currently in Canva is to repeat the generations until you get something that you like. So it is kind of like Russian roulette. You are kind of gambling to see what you get. So this one I'd be super happy with. I'd probably have to fix the eyes in post-production, but this was kind of the portrait that I was envisioning. Just for demo purposes, I'm going to show you some things that I've been working on. I have a thing for armor. I was a big video game person back in the day. I love the game Skyrim, and I was taking some of the Skyrim armor concepts into these characters, and I was loving the results I was getting. These were from the Daedric armor series. These are some other fairy renders with different styles. This one's got more of a almost a photorealistic look, but still kind of fantasy 3D. Here I was messing around with some anime looks. Some came out really good. I like the way this one came out. I used things like Cherry Blossom, anime artists as well. These were from the prompt book that I left a link in the description below. Look how photorealistic these look. This particular prompt is a bit more advanced that we'll cover in another video. The results are really good, very photorealistic. More armor series. Really like the look at this one. Has that Avatar kind of feel. This one as well. I really dig that. Now here's the thing, this version of Canva is very limited, and I encourage you to learn about Stable Diffusion before Canva comes out with their full model in 2023. One of the ways you can take advantage of most of the Stable Diffusion options is to use Playgroundai.com. I've got a couple beginner videos on it. Make sure to check them out because again, you have things like image to image. You can change your aspect ratio. Unlike here in Canva, you're limited to a square ratio. You could even change certain settings to get better quality. And if you're a true beginner, there are built-in filters that are like presets. So you would just type in portrait of a fairy, pick one of those filters, and it'll give you different looks. You can go back into the gallery, study the prompts that was used to make that image, and then you can tweak it as you go. I encourage you to learn as much about Stable Diffusion as possible because once Canva releases their official version, you're going to be 10 steps ahead. This industry is moving fast. It was very different 6 months ago. And it seems like each day I'm on YouTube, there's something new to learn. It's definitely exciting times, but it's moving very, very fast. As always, hit that like button if you found some use out of this video. Check out Playgroundai right here and right here. And until the next video, my friends, I'll see you when I see you.